So I'd like to just do the land acknowledgement, that we acknowledge that the land on which we gather is the traditional territory of the Kanaha, the Twi'lek, and Sinixt people, and is home to the Métis and many diverse Aboriginal persons. We honor their connection to the land and rivers and respect the importance of the environment to our strength as a community. The consent agenda includes the agenda for the meeting, minutes of the May meeting, an action list, and some correspondence. Everyone's okay with accepting that? I would like to move that the consent agenda be accepted as presented. Devin, Christine, all in favor? Okay. So the next item is a business arising item, and it's about the strategic plan progress tracking document, which was included in our package. I could barely read it, but is the document something that we are looking at to see is going to be an okay document to be presented at every board meeting? Is that
so? The deputy helped me work on it to revise it, and I wanted to see if this is something that you feel will be of value, whether you want it every month, quarterly, in terms of attached to the chief's report. So that's kind of what it's for.
Yeah, and I think it's something that did come up because the strategic plan otherwise just gets filed away, and although the chief may be referring to it, he doesn't report according to what's on that strategic plan. So a tracking form sounds good.
Yeah. So if I could, Chair, what we worked on was we sort of took the existing matrix that you saw last time and included the sort of the public-facing labels that we already have in the printed document. But now it specifies actions that support the activities, steps taken, status, who the lead is, time frame, any budget implications, risks, and what we want to see or what the outcomes are of those actions. And they're all related back to the three strategic directions. So I guess my suggestion, sort of next steps for us, would be to meet with senior staff and then key partners to walk through what those action items and activities entail in practical terms. So one of the things you sort of want to do with a strategic plan is to make sure that we're actually capturing the work that we do and maybe not necessarily adding too much extra because we still have work to do in the first place. And normally the work that we're doing will forward the strategic plan. So inspector and senior staff will get together and map out some of these things to give us a sort of a realistic roadmap of what we need to be accountable to on paper. And I appreciate that it's in the public session, so it'll be high level, of course. But if I could suggest a quarterly update from the chief as opposed to every month, I think would be a most appropriate.
Would be great.
And I agree with quarterly. So this document would be in the public domain. I'm just wondering, from a board perspective, it would be helpful for me to actually have things that are marked like on track, like green, yellow, like traffic lights, red. And I don't know if that's, maybe it's just not showing on my screen. But I don't know how we feel about that, if it's in the public domain or if there's some way, like, so from a board perspective, the things that I want to know are, when things says lack of resources, that's a board issue, I think, right? From a risk perspective, anything, and also anything that is, materially off track. So those things I would assume would be indicated as red in any event if those were to arise. And so it just helps the board focus on areas that maybe the board needs to be thinking about, because this is dual purpose, right? It helps both at an operational tactical level, but also from a strategic fiduciary perspective of the board. So I'm not sure if you have any ideas or ways that we would integrate or accomplish that, because I like the form. I think it's good. It's just how do we make it useful in terms of those issues.
So and again, this is draft, so we can modify there's a column there for status, so we can make that sort of status as in progress, done, or complete. That certainly is there. To your point, and we can also set, I think I have to call it timelines and deadlines for these to be complete. One of the things that I think the board has to be alive to is, and I haven't memorized this yet, but as we go through these, you may find that some will never be concluded. So then you put ongoing, and traditionally you take that would be baked into your policy, your daily operating procedures. You would actually take that off the strategic plan eventually because it's done. It becomes embedded in your day-to-day work. Other things that can be measured can be reported here, and then roll it all up at the end for an annual report on what you've accomplished. In this case, it'd be quarterly. So
Yeah,
to be accountable to the public,
yeah.
we should not obviously be putting details of operations in here, but we should be showing progressive work of the police department.
Well, I think it's really important for the public to see that and see where we are at with our strategic plan. But also I hear what you're saying, but I think if you see something that you have more questions about that isn't appropriate for the open meeting, then that same day when we move into in camera, we could raise the issues then.
Yeah, I guess.
Rather than not having, we at the moment, I think we don't do much in the open meeting, and it's frustrating for people who are watching us because they're curious. And so the more we share, the better. And the strategic plan is a public document.
And I have no issues with any of that. What I'm trying to figure out is making this useful in terms of our short amount of time that we get together. And so, yeah, I can read all the words. It can say ongoing, it can say on target, it can say all sorts of things. But that's not necessarily telling me if there's an issue. So I have to read between the lines, which to me, as a board member, I may or may not be doing. So I like that quick visual, like traffic light. Where are the yellows and reds? When I'm going through this, that's where my head's going, directly to yellows and reds. Now, how we do that, considering it's a public document, that's kind of what I'm struggling with, because I don't know that we want to be doing that from a public domain perspective. But from a board perspective, I do prefer those visual aids to help me focus and think about the risk areas, because it's too overwhelming otherwise.
Yes.
I have a suggestion that anything that is not on track in here, based on timelines, automatically is then discussed. So it doesn't require a board member saying, oh, we should discuss this, but it's automatically goes into the
Part of the quarterly report.
Yeah,
private meeting or like the camera meeting.
on the agenda.
It doesn't address your issue of the visual, aspect to this, which is great. I don't have a problem with. I think that's fine.
Well, so we have an in-camera report from the chief, right?
Yeah.
So maybe, this is a suggestion, but you could incorporate kind of a standing table. I'm just a little worried about if you just take everything that's not on time, it's like, well, is it a few weeks to, how material is that? So,
Right.
So, but if you put a table that included those things that are not on target, and just, I don't know if the chief is comfortable doing this or not, but actually just highlighting the yellows or reds, on that table that is in camera,
yeah. Then
maybe, again, it just helps focus, right? Because things might not be on time, but there could be lots of good reasons why, and it's not a big issue, but some things might not be, or maybe there's not resources for something that's really critical. It's those things that.
That's why if everything's on that list and it's automatically a conversation, but it could be a 2-second conversation if it's 2 weeks late, but it's done, or it's going to be done next week. It's not a big deal. Right.
Yeah, I'm open to, different forms, but that would be helpful.
I think if you always use your Section 69 benchmark for in-camera discussions, then it'll map itself on here. I just quickly went through the activities to support the goal, and there's, aside from budget, draft budgeting and provisional budgeting, there's actually not a whole lot in here that maybe couldn't exist in the public realm, with the exception of some ancillary stuff that might come up through HR or through budgeting or through operations that we would talk about. But your lens is still, think it's 69, China. Yeah, your lens is still 69. So to put things into income. So I think it'll work its way out. What we can do potentially is just because the printout in PDF wasn't that great, we can share the Excel with the board, just so you have a better understanding of sort of the flow of it, if that would help you.
So do we acknowledge that the next step would be for further discussion with the staff, and then you'd come back with the strategic plan?
Yeah, I think, I'm not sure if we need a motion to adopt this format.
We don't. It's
We
just,
start
okay,
using the
so it's
format.
just minuted.
And if the board sees some amendments that need to be made as we go to living document.
No further questions?
Yeah.
No, I do like what Christina's saying though about I like the idea of a color, because and like you said, this PDF is kind of terrible, right? Like trying to actually read this document is like, I don't know what, like even following across is kind of tough. But I do actually like that idea, and I don't see why, if things are behind, unless it should be in camera, that it can't be indicated here in the public meeting. Like this is about being accountable to the public, right? So even if something is behind on here, well, let's talk about why it's behind and let's do it on camera. If it's not a labor thing or a budget thing or,
Using section 69 as your benchmark. So,
yeah. So,
I mean, if there needs to be something sort of blown out a little bit for further discussion, then the chief and the inspector is going to be able to write a briefing note based on the topic that's in the spreadsheet.
totally.
Right. So, I don't want to see a spreadsheet that's just piled and piled
Of
with
information,
words.
yeah.
Exactly.
It's a pointer. Is what it is.
Yeah, totally.
No, we've always had a strategic plan, but we've never really had a mechanism in place to kind of, look at it, track it, 3-4 times a year or whatever. So this is, once we have it in place, then there'll be just an update. Like I said, it's a plan, so it's never precise. Things change. It's a fluid kind of document. Right? Okay.
Other than that, I actually really like this, that it's got like who's doing what the deadline is, the implications to I actually really like this, the risks. I definitely want to talk more, I think, in the future about about risks and like our risk register and stuff that we don't.
Well, that's our job, right? Is
Yeah.
to focus on the risk.
So, other than that, I like the layout for sure.
Do you have enough there for your minutes? All right, well then, the next big item here is the Nelson Police Board Chair, because this is my last meeting.
May I interject
Yeah,
just to start the conversation off?
okay.
Just for a couple of minutes. I do, it is 2 board members' last board meeting. That's Jane and Linda. So I'm just going to take a couple of minutes. I've made a couple of, or Shiloh and I have made a couple of notes just to talk a little bit about you guys and recognize you folks publicly. So you both obviously came to the board 6 years ago. Jane, you own and operate an ergonomics and rehabilitation business, but your passion is about supporting the 2SL LGBTQI plus community through poetry, through writing. I understand there's even some film writing in there. You were the 2022 City of Nelson Cultural Ambassador. I met your daughter the other day, who is obviously very passionate about this work as well. So you're obviously making an impression on your two teenage kids. Your passion in the board is very clear. Even my twice being here, the thoughtful questions you've asked, the pull me aside in the hallway at the meeting we were at with Dr. Gunnarsson, your passion is very clear. So for me, and I'm certainly on behalf of the staff here, thank you for your service on this board. I understand that there's going to be a sort of a transfer celebration later in the summer when the new board members get made. So thank you very much. And I don't know if you want to take a minute before I talk about Lena to say a few words to your colleagues and the public, mind you.
Yes, it feels like a milestone, and it's been a real privilege to serve on this board. And what's made it so great is the quality of both the senior leadership team at NPD and the board members that I've served with. And you know, it's felt like a high impact board and also a busy board with, you know, a lot of things to do, which is a good thing, what you want to do on a board. And if I'll leave you with one thought is, yes, continue to ask all the good questions, because that's our job as board members. And I think sometimes I've asked a lot of questions and it's maybe made meetings go over time, but I've always, you know, wanted to make the board effective and also make our senior leaders, you know, also be asking those questions and reflecting. So I hope the extra time I've taken hasn't bogged anyone down too much.
Thanks, Jane.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I understand that you've been in Nelson since 1987, and I found out that you ran the Nelson Community Services Center for over 26 years as the executive director. And shortly before retirement, you joined the board. So that's
No, after.
after retirement. Okay, that's good. That's still a lot of work, and that's still giving back to your community. So that's fantastic. During your community services center, you obviously worked with the Nelson Police and the RCMP extensively, and I hope that generated you know, some of your reasoning on why you wanted to join the board.
Definitely.
I also read a couple of proud accomplishments or Cicada Place and opening up Transition House, and having worked in domestic violence for a number of years myself, that work can't be overstated on how important it is. So thank you for that. You assumed the role of police board chair, which is another bit of heavy lifting for sure, when that transition occurred last year. And you have told me that you're looking forward to potentially piano lessons.
Keeping up with my 7-year-old granddaughter.
Continuing to play the ukulele, choir singer, and of course being a great grandmother. So not a great grandmother,
A great.
a good grandmother.
I got
Yeah,
what
okay,
you meant,
yeah.
great. Yes.
So I do want to thank you for your time with the board, on behalf of the board, senior leadership of Nelson Police. I want to leave it at you as well.
Well, thank you, Jason. It's very nice. And it's been great meeting you too. So I'm really glad that I had the opportunity to get to know you a little bit. Yeah, like Jane, I feel it's been an honor. Like 6 years is a long time, but we were busy and focused. And I think when Jane and I came on, there was just some changes happening already in the right direction, and with the cultural change in police. So the timing was lovely, I think, for us. And I've seen many changes. We hired the chief. That was, that we did as a new board. It was one of our first jobs. We met with the West Kootenay People for Racial Justice because they told us that there was just no opportunity for them to come and talk to the board. They came to a couple of board meetings, and then we actually had regular meetings, like 3 or 4 times a year with them. And just recently, they said, hey, we don't need to do this anymore, because guess what? We now have an EDI committee. So, when I was looking back, I think we've accomplished lots, and I feel proud to be part of this organization. And yes, my support for the police goes back, way back from the time I arrived till, and then in my profession and working with violence against women issues and so on, that we work closely, with the police. And there's some police officers who were great and some who were not so good, and that's how it is in any organization. But for the most part, they acknowledged that they were all the fathers, brothers, husbands. They wanted a safe community. So it's been my pleasure.
Thank you.
Right.
You can have your meeting back.
Never late for choir again.
Yes, I look forward, it just on the piano thing, I have a 7-year-old granddaughter who's just learning to play the piano. And I was trying to just be supportive of her and I said, hey, something Grandma's always wanted to learn. And so she provided me with book 1 and in March and she'll be back in July.
Who's testing you in
And
July?
so I have to, I'm halfway through the book 1, I have to have it done. So yeah, that's all it is really. Okay, so we now need to have a discussion about replacing the chair and the vice chair. And we've got the act right there on the agenda, so you can see that at the next meeting. So yeah, when I'm done at the next board meeting is when appointment has to be made. And just two thoughts.
Can I just make a suggestion? And I could be wrong on timing. But what I understand is we'll have a July meeting, but the new board members won't be.
They
in
may,
attendance.
it
No.
depends on, they won't,
They won't.
okay.
Okay, so, but then our meeting in September, all the board, the new board, because I think we're getting 2 or 3 new people possibly. So, yeah, so what I would like to suggest, since we don't meet in August, is that maybe we just agree that Eric would chair the next meeting as the vice chair, if he's agreeable. I know he's not here tonight. And then when we have our full complement of the new board in September, that then we, sort of pass a motion as to who the new chair would be.
Sounds like the discussion that we had at last month's meeting, so.
Yeah, that sounds like the most
Yeah,
sensible thing. Like if we're gonna pick a new chair, we should probably have the whole board
Yeah.
here
Yeah.
to do that.
and technically, like in July, till July 8th, Jane and I are still on the board till the 8th. At least mine is for sure, I have the document. Yeah, so we're still members in July. So that kind of makes sense. In August, you don't meet. And then September, you'll have a full team. So are we in agreement then? So we need to, do we have to pass a motion?
I
No.
don't think so.
When is our meeting in July?
9.
Right, I'm weird, I don't have it on my calendar.
It's because I suspect Chris and Gabe are here.
Okay. Okay, sounds good, thank you.
Yeah, I think that's a great idea.
15 minutes.
Yeah, no, we're just there.
Totally don't have it on my calendar.
Yeah, I'll bring it. No.
So shall we carry on while it's out? Okay. The chief's report, if you want. Send that, Jason.
Yes, I can. So just by numbers here, the BCCP is, and the BC Municipal Chiefs, the chief and I were unable to attend, and we've, the next BCCP is actually essentially the transition week for Chief Fisher and I, so we're not attending that one either. I think that's the 3rd week in June, somewhere
I
in
mean,
there.
that's,
So
yeah.
Which was
That would be the 3rd week in June.
Yeah.
That's the 3rd week in June.
the week of the 23rd is the week of the conference.
Right.
Because we have a lot of talking to do.
Yeah.
It's amazing how much happens in
6 weeks.
6 weeks.
Mhm.
Pleased to report we launched the Health IM, and I believe you know what that is all about.
Yeah.
It took a couple of days to get the first entry into it, but by all accounts, everything was successful and went off great. There'll be a combined or a coordinated sort of media launch. There was a picture that we got up there at the hospital with the staff up there, which was great at the day. It was launched, but there'll be a coordinated media launch between the police, the health authority, and the provincial government. It was funny. So that went well. I think all of our members are trained up now on the
Yes,
application.
and we've successfully used it twice.
Is it effective?
Sure, yes.
Okay. Not a big, we didn't go on yet.
So it's great question. So it's, and I'll try and keep it concise, because I was around, actually started talking about this in the province and gave the province a pay for it. It's an application on the member's phone, and it's sort of the background algorithms are medically based, evidence based, so that when a member puts in observations when dealing with a person potentially in crisis, that it comes up with sort of common language for the medical profession and the police to do that sort of that handoff when you are apprehending somebody out of the mental health. That's one. The other piece is now it starts to build a bit of a database for the healthcare professionals for any officer safety issues about this potential client. Although it's very rare that violence will occur with someone who's experiencing crisis, sometimes it does happen, and that's very nice for officers to know the next time that they're dealing with somebody. So it's building. The RCMP is almost set, I believe, to come on here shortly. And then I think South Island Municipal is next year. Next on the list is staffing. So we've had Constable Trask has been he's in a second rotation, I think, with us now, which is great, working out great. I see a smile on his face up and down the hallway when he's actually in the building. We swore in Sergeant Bruce McDonald on June 2nd, and he's just about through his training cycle, so he should be in uniform hitting the streets very soon. Do we have a date on it?
Tomorrow.
Tomorrow. And then we'll be swearing in a second experienced officer sergeant. I guess it won't be July 1st, but it'll be
Oh, July 1st.
It is,
It's
yeah.
July 1st, yeah.
swearing in
July
July.
was,
We never get a break.
also over to the candidate
Not
celebration.
That's why we're swearing him in.
It'll be good to go.
Yeah.
And then I can't remember if I reported this last time, but we've been successful. We asked for 2 seats at JIBC in September. We got 2.
That's great news.
So that's really good.
That's really great news.
Yeah. So we're Chadel and I are working through the sort of the first round shortlisted, and then we're inviting people next out for some of the first steps, such as physical assessment and ethos exam. This tomorrow.
Tomorrow.
I tell you, this department moves quick. Community safety officer, CSO Valdez started. He was sworn in June 2nd. Training has begun. He's got some more training to be done because it's a little more extensive for someone who has not done this job yet, which is great. And then the application process was closed, and we're sorting through second that transitional CSO looks like. Public events, you see the list. I'm wondering if you have any questions on some of the events that the inspector and I or other staff have attended since the last board meeting. They're all excellent, and most of them good community connections being made there. So I'll just pause there if you have any questions on any of those events we attended.
The hydro dams communication test, I was wondering what that was all about.
Yeah, so that was basically it was a protocol that they set up to make sure that the lines of community, so the inspector and I are on it, so that when they send out a notification of urgency, that we get it, and reply back to it. Yeah. So it's a notification system that they tested. The questions?
Stepping stones.
Yeah.
What was your impression for those who went on that tour? Did you go to the open house?
I did.
I'm assuming,
Yeah.
yeah. Because I was part of a tour with the city.
It was excellent. Sean and I went, and we were toured by Joanna.
Mhm.
Yeah, and it was very professionally run, clean, tidy, rules in place, very succinct areas for what can occur in what location. And, the staff was excellent. It took time to speak with us. So by all accounts, it was a good tour. Subsequent to that, I haven't had a tour of the North Shore facility, but I understand that's made quite a dent in people that are being housed, which is great. Because the advent of that, I believe that opened up in December of 2024. So people were talking about the success thus far with that facility as well.
I was impressed with the security system that they do have at
That's right.
Stepping Stones, where they can observe every room. So if some member is in crisis, resident is in crisis, they can see that. That's- Yeah, I was very impressed. But it's a very modest kind of place too.
Yeah.
I felt really good about the workers. Like, it's not the best environment, and most of them are stuck in the basement, right? Like, it's not a fancy job. Like,
Yeah.
you have to really have your heart in that kind of work. And I have a lot of respect for the workers at Stepping Stones.
And no, there are people that want to give back to public service.
Yeah,
Right?
absolutely.
We all have a place in public service, and that was one of them. But I will share a quick anecdote. We were in the basement and getting tour of sort of the donations that come in at Stepping Stones. And one of us asked Joanne what the donations look like. Are you in need of it? And she immediately went, need men's medium pants. They're always out of men's medium pants.
Yeah.
She showed us the bin. It was empty. Everything else had, some stock in it of men's medium pants. So the public session, I'll just throw that out there. Stepping Stones needs men's medium pants.
Yeah.
I have a quick question. What qualifies as men's medium pants? I have lots of my son's old clothes, so I'm actually serious.
Fair question.
Yeah.
Does anyone know?
I think that they would take their, they would take sweatpants, they would take jeans. They do have available there some more dress
Yes.
clothing, because, for people that want to try to look a bit better going for their court appearance or whatever, they do, have the odd men's blazer that was hanging there on the day that we went through there. So I think that, I don't know, what's medium? I would say size 34 to 36.
I would even like 32 to 36.
Yeah.
Probably.
I was gonna say
Yeah.
38 is usually a large, that's what my guy wears,
Yeah,
so
yeah.
so.
Yeah, 32 to 36.
I'm learning all
Waist.
sorts of things at the Nelson Police Force.
Next on my list is the victim service workers. They presented, and Mayor chime in here if you like, they presented to council on two fronts. One was the BNE project, and the other was the neighbors, friends, families, and co-workers presentation. Did you want to speak to that at all? Or?
No, I mean, I think it was well received. It did create some more conversation for us around dinner. So I think it just allowed this video to be shown, and for those that do follow city council, and we do have it on our city website as well as being on the police website, so that people want to look back. It's just about, for me, the reason I sent out the invitation was I think it's important to know what that work is that's being done,
Mhm.
and that be able to have that connection to watch that information, in your own home, and when it's comfortable for you to be viewing that. So I think the more it can kind of be out there, the better off.
I provided the link in the board package
Yeah.
on purpose so that the public could have it as well, because it really, you don't want to run into a scenario where as a bystander or confronted with something that you actually don't know what to do. So this actually helps build your skill set on how to address this issue. So it's really good. If you haven't watched the video, please do. I think it's about 30. And then the other was we'll get Councilor Valdez all trained up on the BNE project as well, and we'll see where that goes. So I'll report out on that. And then lastly, I'll turn over to the inspector for an operational.
Just a few files of note. On May 25th, we arrested a male for possession of stolen property. And then subsequent to the arrest, we searched him and located 38.5 grams of fentanyl. So it's
That's a lot,
significant bust for someone that's walking on the street. So that's still under investigation at the moment, but it's a success for us. With the search warrant that we did, and now with this, it's looking good. Another individual was responsible for approximately 160 files in 2025. He's been arrested 6 times over the last 2 months. He was arrested last night and brought before the courts for bail. He's now facing 6 charges, including mischief, fear of injury, breach of undertaking, and 3 counts of breach of release. And he was globally released again today on a release order.
Oh my
no.
Lord.
So he was charged with breaching his release conditions and was released again today.
Yes.
Okay.
And another issue that we've identified is IOD park that seems to be building up. We're currently working with the city to try to mitigate the problems there.
The inspector's being humble.
Yes.
The inspector actually went out today to check out the park himself and challenged a fella for drinking in public, and this fella didn't like it, so he ran and the inspector gave chase. And the inspector arrested the fella, and I believe we're looking at an obstruction charge or something. So, yes, leadership in action.
So, could I ask, during this transition period where we don't have, now I've completely forgotten her name, Silk,
Yeah.
and we don't have our new CSO on, I have to say I really have appreciated those summary statements, those sort of news media releases that come out. And I know that she reported one time previous where it talked about person had been charged and then was breaching their conditions.
Mhm.
And she wrote that, and here we have another one. And I just sort of think that when that gets out into the public, it helps, I think, mitigate that you're not doing anything comment that I, as mayor, get a lot of, and I think that any of you that are actually recognized as police board members also get stopped and say, ask the question, what's going on? So I think there's some value in that. If, while we're kind of like on the in-between, if we could periodically put one of those out. And I kind of like that there's the odd fun, still not good behavior, but there's still the odd fun one too that just makes reading those sort of interesting. And I think I miss the old days when we had a daily newspaper and the police blotter got published all the time. I'm pretty old school. It's been around for a long time. I remember those days, but I really, really appreciate it. And I just want the department to recognize that, and that I know that she had gone away for some training to BPD, I think, to talk with their comms person. Is that right? Yeah, to learn how to write those and really make them so that nobody's getting into any trouble, but we're getting the information out there to the public to share with the public.
So CSO Valdez will be taking that over, and then he'll be submitting them to me for review so that we can sort of offset that.
Thank you.
Well, communication is good, right?
And I will put out a media release on the
That's
Yeah.
gentleman there.
Yeah.
For
Gosh.
awareness.
I need to have those ones all in my back pocket for where I can whip them out when I'm in Victoria. Like, those are my, oh, you need to know? Well, here you go.
All right, and any more questions from, no, hearing none? Can I have a motion to accept the constable's report? Chief constables, yeah. Devin and Jane, all in favor? Agreed.
And I guess maybe now, Chair, seeing how the chief has given his last open meeting, we should be thanking the acting chief for his role, because he's going to be another person that's not going to be at
Next
the
meeting.
next
That's so true.
meeting.
Yes, but you know what? We're just hoping that he liked it so much here that maybe he'll hang around. I have this, like that's what I said. I don't know if you were there, Janice, for when we were swearing in ceremony. I kind of just said to Jason, like, I just have this feeling that, he's not going to leave our community.
And now it's on the open meeting.
That's me. That's
No
me.
pressure.
What you see is what you get. I'm just speaking from my heart. I haven't had a conversation with him. I haven't know what his plans are, but
No pressure.
it's good to know that you're loved and wanted, and you've done such a great job in such a short time.
Yeah.
So
Here, here.
congratulations. Yeah, we're very, very fortunate
Yeah.
to have you, and you're great at communicating and so connected in the community. Like, it's just amazing what a good person can do to the department. So we were,
I'd just like to add that as a board member, I felt very reassured the second you walked in here for your first meeting because of your, ability to answer questions in such an informed way, which was really impressive given that you just walked in the door. And yes, I second your communication abilities, but thank you for your service.
Very much. It's been a pleasure, actually. It's been fantastic. It's a great department. Folks are doing great job on governance. I see smiles up and down the hallway every day. We're hiring, and is good here. And it's nice to know there's still, this department still has it's good standing in the community and still is doing great work. So the stuff that I've seen, people that I've talked to are committed to Nelson, and it's their place. So it's been really good. And purposely being non-committal in the public session.
It's Nelson, this is what happens.
Yeah. It really is.
Just to take a moment, there was a story that, I think it was Jane, maybe the person asked you. So we hosted the police board meeting here 2 years ago.
Jason was here.
Yeah, and there was an attendee from some police board that was here and was here for had one night and it was the next day, and said, I think I need to buy a property. And somebody from our board at that time took her to see a realtor. She'd been here less than 24 hours, and she wanted to investigate potentially buying a house and relocating here. So it does have its own charm.
I also believe that Nelson is a special place, and those of us who come from different communities and then get to stay, that's a reason. So it may be beyond your control.
It has been my pleasure. It's been great working with the inspector and certainly Shiloh. It's been fantastic. Thank you.
Thank you.
You.
Let's applaud for it.
Okay, moving on to directors' reports. Anybody want to jump in and talk about the workshop?
Super briefly, just to say that it was it was a pleasure to attend the workshop by Dr. Lisa Gunderson, and I was especially delighted that the deputy chief, the inspector, and the new Sergeant McDonald were all in attendance as well as 3 of us from the board. Do I have that number right?
Yes.
Yeah. 4? Sorry, 4. Yeah, and I was about to say, and the mayor. I mean, board member and a leader in this town, and it's important that workshop address, people who are in leadership positions. I mean, we could all go on in detail about how good we all thought that was, and I know we've all chatted about it. It was a very good workshop and presentation, by a very skilled facilitator. And one of the things that I was left with from talking to Dr. Gunderson a little bit was that, we, having an EDI committee and having the benefit of Deputy Chief here, who's worked with Dr. Gunderson in Victoria and was very involved with the EDI committee there. I also have been trying to get the school district to have a higher priority on some of these issues. Just in my spare time as a volunteer, I don't have an official role with them, but they are now looking to, Nelson Police and the work that we're doing around that, which is, remarkable, really. And it, it's the police board and the department deserve accolades for now being seen as, a group that other people can look towards to set up EDI committees.
Mm-hmm.
That's it. Thanks.
Anybody else who was there? Do you want to say anything?
No, I think Jane encompassed it way better than I could ever. It was an incredible, I could have spent the whole day.
Oh yeah, I could.
It was over
so
too fast,
good.
that workshop. I could have spent the whole day. I left there with a lot of, some new tools, which was really nice.
Mm-hmm.
And some, it was, I think Jane really did capture it, so.
Yeah. And I plan to take her up on her offer to see what direction, we can go in at the city, because she has a lot of experience with that. And because I go so often to Victoria, and as we all know, travel from here gives you a lot to spare times at different times in your day, because you're always like 3 days before the meeting starts, that I'm hoping to be able to engage with her on one of my numerous trips that I have still for the rest of the year when I go to Victoria, to at least have a coffee or a opportunity to get together. So
Just on that, it would be potential, or there's great potential there to explore sort of a bit of a partnership. I'm just thinking off the top of my head between the city and the police department, if there is sort of space for some synergy in the work that you undertake there and the work we're undertaking here, because why not? Anyway, food for thought.
The city and the police.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was there too, and I just found the whole presentation validating, and you know, because my approach is different, but like there are different approaches. But the one thing that I, got from her presentation was that it all begins with us, us individuals, like how we approach the issue of racism, before we can start looking at others. I found that, really validating, because that's something I really totally have experienced and believe in. And the other piece was she mentions something about always having a budget. With our EDI committee doesn't really have a budget, and Shiloh tries to find us a few cents here, and no, the next meeting is going to be on that agenda. That it doesn't have to be big, but that's a sure sense then that we really mean what we say, and we're not just having a committee to just please and make it look good on the outside.
Yeah, I wrote that quote down. If it doesn't have a budget, it's not a priority.
Yeah.
Was what she said. Yeah, I wrote that. That was one of the
It's
first
just
things I
like,
wrote at the top and circled it.
Having police attend also just get the community says, hey, good, like they really mean it. They're here, making an effort, because they know you're very busy, and right, but you have to make it a priority. So yeah, I too appreciated having you there. Great.
Amazing. It was amazing.
All right.
All week.
Anything else? No? I think we're at the end of the meeting. So can I have a motion to adjourn the meeting? Christine, Jane, all in favor? Meeting adjourned.
I just need a quick bathroom break.
You want a little
before the next-
break?
Yeah, that's a good bathroom.